There's somebody. There's Lance. How are you, Lance?
How's it? Good, and you?
Good, thank you.
Good.
Excellent.
Lance, I always like your quick appearance before we start. It's great to get a glimpse. Okay, here we go.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. Great to have you here. So we are learning the laws of keeping healthy, because having a healthy body is the only way we're able to serve Hashem. And so we spoke a lot about how to eat and everything surrounding food. And yesterday we moved on to drinking. And finally we spoke about exercising. And today we will continue to speak about emotional well-being. So here we go. Let's hear some advice from the Rambam on how to stay healthy emotionally. If you want to guard your health, you must be familiar with your emotional reactions and be cautious with them. Examples of these are joy, anxiety, anger, fear, all of which have a psychological impact. An intelligent person should be happy with the portion granted to him during his transitory life, not anxious about a world that is not his. So he's giving us some quick tips how to stay happy, to be appreciative of whatever we have, and realize that physical wealth is temporary. You should not seek luxuries, but should be satisfied and moderately joyful. For this aids the improvement of the natural body heat, digestion of food, and expulsion of waste, meaning that if we're happy with what we have, it helps our body operate better, and strengthening the senses of vision and all other senses. It also strengthens the intellectual faculties. But, which is why I believe today, parenthetically, there's an emphasis in companies in having a place for guys to hang out. I guess not today COVID, but in general, the couches, and making as much of a pleasant environment as possible, because obviously if the workers are happy, then their minds will work better and everything about them will function better. You should not try to increase your happiness by feasting and drinking. Don't be fooled by saying, let's go drink and say L'chaim, and then that's what's going to make me happy. Or let's go out for dinner, and that's as fools do. Because too much happiness, I don't know if over here the best word for happiness would be happiness. Let's see the Hebrew. I don't know, but too much happiness brings body heat to the surface, sapping the body's natural warmth, so that the heart becomes chilled rapidly, and the person may die prematurely and suddenly. Meaning, maybe it means if you go you're too much of a partier and too heated up, then you end up using up your energy. This especially occurs to people whose bodies are corpulent, but they have less natural heat in their bodies because their blood vessels are narrow and the circulation, which is the source of the body's heat, is slow. So be happy, but don't overdo that. Anxiety is the opposite of joy, and it too is harmful, for it cools the body so that the natural heat may converge on the heart and cause one's death. Anger stokes the heat of the body to the point that it can induce one or another kind of fever. Fear brings a chill to the body. Thus, a fearful person shivers. And if this chill becomes too much, he may die. Needless to say, you should be careful not to eat when angry, fearful, or anxious, but rather when in a moderately joyful mood. So we've got to look after our psychological health too. Now, how about sleeping? Sleep in moderation is good for the health of the body. Then the food is digested and the faculties are at rest. If it happens that one is unable to sleep due to illness, he should eat foods that induce sleepiness. But too much sleep is detrimental, for the head then becomes filled with fumes which ascend from the belly to the brain. When the head is filled with such fumes, it can cause great damage to the body. Just as you should be careful not to sleep directly after eating, so should you take care not to sleep when you are hungry. For when there is no food in the body, its heat acts on the excess food waste, producing degraded fumes that ascend to the brain. When you sleep, your head should be raised up higher than the rest of the body. This will allow the food to descend from the opening of the stomach and descend, and will decrease the amount of fumes that are sent to the brain. Natural sleep occurs at night. Sleep during the day is harmful and is beneficial only to those who are accustomed to it. See more in chapter 71. As I mentioned, check with your local dietitian or local physician, but certainly the Rambam is reminding us to both look after our psychological well-being as well as our sleep. I'm surprised I didn't see it here. Maybe these words aren't word for word out of the Rambam. After all, this is a halacha shir. But I know that the Rambam says that one should accustom oneself to a good amount of sleep to have is between 7 and 8 hours. Now we'll talk about bathing. So just to bear in mind, this is before plumbing, where a person would go to a bathhouse. And as we'll see, this was typically done on a weekly basis. It was a heavy cleansing. The norm for bathing is that you should enter the bathhouse once in 7 days. You should not enter the bathhouse when hungry, nor when you are full, but when the food has begun to be digested. You should first wash your body with hot water. This is an interesting one. Then with warm water, then with lukewarm, and finally with cold water. I was learning with somebody, and he said, no, he heard from, I don't know who it was, that he's going to have a cold shower. I said, no. Look what the Rambam says. Start with the heat, and then you can slowly reduce the temperature. And actually, after learning this, that's what I'd often do in the summer to cool off. Start with the heat, and then just gradually turn off the hot water. I mean, back in the day, it meant that they had several baths, so the person would literally move from one bath to the next. Today that's a lot easier. When you exit the bath, you should dress and cover your head well, so that it should not be exposed to cold air. Even in the summer season, you should take care of this. Again, I'm surprised he didn't mention in the Rambam it says that you should never pour cold water over your heads. You could, whatever we said before in the Rambam, you start with hot and slowly becomes cooler and cooler is the rest of the body, but the head shouldn't have absolutely cold water poured over it. That is the Rambam's recommendation. Afterwards, you should wait till your spirit is settled, your body is rested, and the heat has dissipated. Then you can eat. If you nap for a short time after exiting the bathhouse and before eating, that is very beneficial. So again, these bathhouses, they would really go into it, could be like a sauna, really, really hot, and therefore exhausting. So I don't know if this would, I guess maybe if somebody was going to a sauna, then maybe I can apply some of these principles. Okay, what about fresh air, temperature, eyesight? You should always try to live in a place where the air is pure and clean, high up, and in a spacious building. If possible, in the summer, you should not live in a place that is open to the north or to the east. Obviously, this depends on where you are on the globe, and there should be nothing foul-smelling nearby. It is very good to clean the air of the home constantly with good scents and beneficial fumigants. So if you're in the odor industry, then you might want to be quoting this halacha. The air that is best for the health of the body is of average temperature, neither too cold nor too hot. Therefore, everyone should be careful not to overheat their homes during the winter, as unthinking people do, because excessive heat encourages the onset of many grave illnesses, God forbid. So even if it's winter, make sure your home does not get too hot. Rather, you should heat your home only to the point where you do not feel any coldness, but also do not feel too hot. So be careful not to overheat. And doctor, you've arrived just in time for the final halacha 27. And over here, we'll be delighted to get some contemporary insights as far as healthy visual practices.
Sure.
To preserve your sense of sight, take the following precautions. Do not come suddenly all at once from a dark place to a well-lit one. It's interesting because back in the day, before electricity existed, you wouldn't suddenly go from darkness to light, or the phenomena of turning on a light didn't exist. You would need to light a candle, which is a process, first of all, or you would need to walk into a room. So maybe our bodies have accustomed themselves. If you need to enter from a dark place to a lighted one, open the door a bit and look at that small amount of light for a few minutes. Then open it more and again look at the light for a few minutes and then open it completely. Do the same when going from a lighted area to a dark one. This is because the shift from light to darkness or from darkness to light without any transition damages the sense of sight. Does this concept exist in modern medicine?
So, am I unmuted? So I don't think it's dangerous, but certainly the eye does have to adapt from light to dark and dark to light, and there are different cells in the retina that do that. But I think it's more uncomfortable. I think if you go into a very brightly lit space from extreme darkness, I think it's more uncomfortable. And the other way around, you dark adapt, so you will actually start to see a little bit better in the dark, unless it's complete darkness. But it's not really harmful, but it's I suppose anything gradual is better than anything sudden. But I don't think it could cause harm, but just maybe discomfort. You know?
Okay. So maybe our bodies have adjusted.
Quite possibly, sure.
The Rambam continues, for this reason Hashem, blessed be his name, in his great mercy. Sorry. I'll try to mute that. Oh, you don't see the whole screen?
No.
Have you just been seeing the slideshow the whole time?
No, I'm sorry.
No.
I'm seeing you.
No, but you haven't been seeing the text.
Not the text, no. Are they?
Oh,
no, no, I can see.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Okay, you must tell me if that happens.
Okay, sure.
So, back to the text. For this reason, Hashem, blessed be his name, in his great mercy, created the world in such a way that the sun shines upon the earth little by little, not all at once, and likewise sets little by little. For this we bless him as the one who illuminates the earth and those who dwell upon it with mercy, meaning that he mercifully makes the sun shine little by little and not suddenly all at once. Quite an interesting concept. I'm reminded of the young rabbi who wasn't so fluent in English, and Hanukkah arrived. And so he got up in front of a huge crowd of people and he said, the message of Hanukkah is that we need to illuminate the world. He meant to say illuminate.
Illuminate.
Imagine the damage involved in that. Hashem has created the world in such a way that it slowly gets lighter and lighter, slowly gets illuminated. Reflected light from the sun, meaning that the sun shines on something and from there the light is reflected. Reflected light from the sun, meaning when the sun shines on something and from there the light is reflected, is the light that is damaging to the eyes. Therefore, you should take care not to dwell in a house where all the windows are on the north. This is in the northern hemisphere, meaning the sun is shining from the south, I guess. If you're in the northern hemisphere, it's more the south facing, and you're getting a reflection off the north side of the sun.
Okay.
Therefore, you should take it, because the sun does not come to the north, so that all this light that comes from that side is only reflected light. I don't know if that exists today. It sounds like not. Similarly, even if the windows are on the eastern sides or the western sides, if you cannot see the sky through the windows, for example, if there are high walls opposite them, then the light that comes through them is also only reflected light. I guess maybe in modern science is a concept of what's it called? Vitamin B, vitamin D. You know, there's a person should get a certain amount of sun exposure a day, not too much, but something. You should take care not to be occupied with writing, reading a book, or any sort of detailed work by twilight. Interesting. I guess once it's getting dark, or in the middle of the day when the sun's light is at full strength. So you shouldn't read, I guess, too bright. I wonder how that applies to modern technology, or when it's getting dark. I guess that's why the new phones, they try to adjust so that it's so that it's not shining too much.
Sure. Yeah.
You should also not do too much reading of the books with fine print or any other sort of detailed work by candlelight at night. Too much staring at the color white also damages the eyes. Heard of that, Doctor?
So I guess also just maybe more reflection of white. And I mean, definitely the sun is dangerous, and it's dangerous in its full capacity. So a gradual sunrise, I think one becomes more accustomed and you don't stare at the sun. So it's all, I mean, it's all relevant. It's all relevant to today. I think it's, and reflected light is still very harsh, but obviously looking directly at the sun would be more dangerous. But yeah, it's relevant. It's all relevant.
Okay. Thank you. That is why the sky appears blue, not white, so it should not damage the eyes. Sure. Likewise, staring excessively at a bright red color or at fire is also damaging. Smoke and sulfurous fumes are also damaging, as are fine dust and wind that blows into one's eyes. Also, too much walking in large strides and excessive crying are harmful. As the verse says, my eyes are spent with tears. Spent, like that there's been an expense.
Yeah.
Most detrimental of all is excessive intercourse. Interesting. The Rambam holds that excessive intercourse actually affects a person's eyesight. It takes away their sight. By contrast, the commandment, no such thing in modern medicine, is there?
I don't think so.
By contrast, the commandment of God, of Hashem, is clear, enlightening the eyes. And with this, he concludes the section, obviously metaphorically speaking, that you don't want to damage your eyes by being involved excessively in materialism. Rather, enhance your eyes, enlighten your eyes by following the commandments of Hashem. Mitzvahs Hashem bara. The light mitzvahs of Hashem are bright. Be'ires einayim, they shine or enlighten the eyes. And with that, we conclude the laws of keeping healthy. Thank you so much for joining us and wishing you a wonderful Shabbos. Please God, next week we will begin the next section, which is dangerous practices, staying out of danger. So stay tuned.
Thanks, Rabbi.